Hey there, CIS276. Welcome to session 2 out of 8. In our last session, you got your feet wet with the humblest of beginnings with getting around Replit and with the chapter 2 material for C++. So we had a little bit of practice with things like input and output and assignment. In this chapter, chapter 3, we are going to build on that with formatting output. So things like tab stops so that we can spread out content so that it is in a more readable fashion that our users can interact with a little bit easier. In addition to that, we'll see things like decimal formatting so that instead of having a bill at a restaurant that goes out to 6 decimal places, it correctly goes to 2 decimal places. So that is what to expect here in chapter 3. For the session, I just want to make a couple of quick announcements here. Number one is, remember again that the session is broken up into 2 sections. There's a session part 1 and a session part 2. What I'm trying to do there is separate out the chapter material from the challenge material. How's this? If anybody is really put off by that, kind of association, let me know. I'm trying to do this. This is the first time for this class, and I don't know how it's going to work. So if the logic of it, doesn't compute for anybody, let me know, and we'll see what we can't do about it. One other quick note, it is something that I didn't notice when I was going through and double checking all the course links, etc., is there is a difference now in Replit as opposed to the way it was even just here in the spring semester. The difference is that you need to be signed in order to see what used to just be an anonymous link. And I understand why they want to do that. They want to keep, a whole bunch of circumstances from happening. Bandwidth is one of them. Cheating is another one. So, all right, fine. I get it. So I didn't notice that it was requiring you to be signed in before you could see the code sample, which is fine because you have to hand in code using Replit anyway, so you should be signed in. Not every link requires that you fork the link. I will tell you what a fork is because it's as good as time as any. When we are working with a project, there is this main portion of the project, but in a real production environment, you never really want to work with the one good piece of code. What you want to do is take that one good piece and make another section of it that is identical, but that you can make changes on. This way, what happens if you make a colossal mistake and you completely and totally break something irrevocably, but you don't know what that portion is? You still have the good piece of code that you can go instantly back to, and everything is fine and good and not a total disaster. So that is what we're seeing here with the code. Essentially, the portions that I put out there for you are the main portion of the fork, and you can make a different spline of that so that you can add to it, change to it, watch along with the videos and talk through or work through the parts that are being talked through, and you can see those there. So it is 1 to 1.5 more clicks for everybody, but it's a change on the Replit side of things, so that is not something that we can change. So those are the announcements for the week. You will have in the 2 parts of this session, you have the chapter 3 material for the week from the textbook in the program challenges section. So in chapter 2, I was asking parts of the review questions. I won't do that anymore. From here on out, everything is code. So if you are typing things like 99 bottles, that's not the question I was asking you to answer. It is rather the coding section in the exercises later on. The part 2 to this is there are 3 coding challenges at the end there to do. Please do take them as part 1 and part 2. Do the book portion first, because you will be able to use at least portions of that code when you are putting together the challenges later on. So have at it. There's plenty of work to do. Every session feels short, so get after it, and don't forget to not hesitate to reach out with a question as you have them, because again, I'd rather help you with an issue before it becomes a big problem than wait until it does become a big problem. And one quick, very, very last thing here is, when you ask a question, it is usually best to ask that question with a piece of code, because otherwise I don't have a lot to go off of for what I'm supposed to do to answer your question. So it is usually best to accompany your question with a Replit link so that I can get something tangible back to you. So have at it, 276.